Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Gabe.
And we are the Theme Park Duo.
So we have another fun episode for you guys. Hopefully you are, home safe, quarantining yourself, listening to these episodes, not listening to it in a group larger than 10. And if you are all 6 feet away from each other. But nonetheless, it is still a fun episode to be listening to.
Yeah, whatever you're doing. If you're cleaning the kitchen, if you're eating dinner, I don't know. Maybe not while you're eating dinner. I don't know.
No, especially if you want to be socially distancing yourself from everybody, not just spatial distance, but emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
Separating yourself from everybody, might as well go the full distance on this quarantine time. I'm quarantining myself from you entirely from now on.
From me?
No, not from you. I was saying if I was that person.
Oh, I'm going to say we live in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's going to be really hard.
I'm just going to go into the bathroom and never leave.
Oh, so nothing's going to change.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Exactly. But yes, we have a fun episode for all of you today. We sit down with Sam Carter, who worked at Disney for a good period of time, worked in the parades, and also worked in their creative entertainment department a lot.
Yeah. The whole Magic Happens parade is available to watch online.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it this morning.
You saw it in person, though.
I know, but I wanted to relive it, so I watched it this morning.
I'm going to live it for the first time online. Haha.
Oh, yeah, you never saw it. I saw it without you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So. Well, anyway, shout out to Disney. Thanks for putting that video online. It's cool. They used, drones and all that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's Disney put it out.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's not just someone in the crowd. So, there's drone footage of really cool angles of the parades, and the music is the audio's good quality,
So it's not Grandma Sally's shoulder camcorder quality footage going on.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I think Disney put it on their social media. I saw it on Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they did it on the social media.
Yeah, it was on their Instagram stories.
Gotcha.
It's click this link, watch the full Magic Happens.
That's
parade.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so I watched it.
Well, speaking of theme park stuff, they've extended the closure period for pretty much all the theme parks. Until further notice, really.
Yeah.
I actually think that Universal gave a specific date. I think they said April 19th or something, but I guarantee you that's going to go further. It will go further.
Yeah.
So hopefully all this stuff kind of gets wrapped up relatively soon, because it really bums me out to see it affect so much in our lives.
Yeah.
Not just theme parks, just literally everything.
Yeah, it'll be about a month, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest fear right now is how it potentially is going to impede upon the haunt scene, the haunt community, and the haunt season, which inevitably it will, in some shape or form, it is going to impact the haunt season.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You have a season based on large crowds coming to one particular area and walking through confined spaces.
I mean, that's theme parks in general, if you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
more
haunts
so during
specifically, it's walking through a confined space.
But maybe it'll be lighter crowds.
It'll be lighter crowds, probably, but it's just the mentality of people, moving forward. It's going to be do I really want to go to an event like that after having gone through a global pandemic?
I know. I'm going to be really nervous about crowds for a while. I can already tell.
I mean, you mentioned you mentioned it looking at older footage of things.
No, I mentioned to you that we're here stuck at home. I'll be watching TV or movies or whatever. We watch The Jersey Shore. I see them in a club, something they filmed half a year ago, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many people in there. I freak out, and it's I have to remind myself no, this was before everything happened.
The before times.
The before times.
Before the boom boom.
What?
Rick and Morty. Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah.
Did all your dictionaries go boom boom too? No, I agree with you. I think looking at all that, inevitably my mind goes immediately to the situation that we're currently in. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this impacts everything else moving forward.
Yeah.
In the theme park world, in the themed entertainment world. So, we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, whatever sacrifices had to be made in order to make sure people are safe and healthy, that's really all that matters to me.
Yeah.
So just hopefully that actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
But moving forward, we have this excellent sit-down conversation with Sam Carter himself. So let's get into that right now. Hello, everybody, and as you heard in the intro, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest with us today. We have Sam Carter. How are you doing, my friend?
I am hanging in there. What a week, huh?
Oh, dude, this has been a gnarly, gnarly week. Diz Twitter is getting their panties all up in a bunch.
Oh, man.
We got the whole COVID-19.
So what's new? Well, it's just funny. Everyone's really looking hard for some content, and it's kind of neat because you're diving deep into the archives. And, you know, a lot of the stuff I'm finding, like I've already posted this, but it's kind of neat to kind of put it in a new perspective because it's one thing when the parks are open, but when every park around the globe is closed, it kind of, those posts mean a little bit more, you know? So it's kind of cool to reflect back on stuff.
No, it definitely feels nice to kind of reflect on almost like a golden age, if you will, because we're in a little bit of a weird situation. But yeah, people are definitely digging deep into their pockets to try to figure out what to do for content right now. And some people I definitely think are succeeding. You know, you posting those pictures, our friends Parks and Cons are doing some fantastic things. And there's some creators who definitely are struggling a little bit now that they don't have the access that they normally would.
Well, you know what? It's kind of weird. With the way I look at it is like sometimes I'll have like 5 things I want to post in a day, and I'm like, man, that's kind of a lot more than I want to post. But then I might go 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, I seriously got nothing on my brain that I want to post. And I'm like, guess what I do? I don't post. So it's like one of those weird things. It's like when it rains, it pours on like content. But it's interesting to see what people are plugging away now at. But it's cool.
Yeah. I'm pretty lucky. Me and Nikki are very lucky here at Theme Park Duo because we can literally talk about anything at any time, anywhere we want to, and it's not based on where we're at physically.
Right.
You know, we can have any conversation under the sun. Like today, we're going to be having a conversation with you about, you know, your design and your art and a lot of other things because you've had a storied history in design.
Man, it's a long one. I think this is going to be like a 5-parter. No, I don't know. I'll try
a 5-parter, dude. Let's go all the way to 10-parter. If we're gonna go to 5-parter, might as well go to 10-parter.
You know, Season Pass did that. 10-parter with Tony Baxter. We could do something like that over here with us.
Yeah, that works for me, right? Yeah, that's the next logical step for me.
We'll spare everybody on that. But no, I'm glad you asked me. I think it's kind of interesting. But what's neat about it is I have a lot of people that ask me like, hey, how did you start doing what you do? Because I got a weird gig. Not a lot of people get to do what I get to do, and I definitely appreciate it. And back when I was first getting started, there was really not too many people I would ask about it because it's kind of cutthroat. A lot of people want to do this gig, and a lot of people want to do this stuff, and unfortunately, some artists might be a little bit, I'm not really going to share this path because they don't want to lose business or they don't want to do that. So the way I look at it is I try to just do the right thing and help out whoever I can, especially artists. Because I wouldn't necessarily say that I had as much help as I wish I had. So I always try to help someone out whenever anyone hits me up. Yeah,
it's definitely a competitive world. I work in an industry, I work in the television industry that is unbelievably competitive. So I completely understand and sympathize with the idea of not really getting the necessarily help, the help that you need at the beginning. Right. I actually had an assistant editor one time when I had my first AE gig, and the first day she looked at me in the face and was like, "You don't deserve to be here. I'm not going to help you."
Oh.
Okay, cool. At least I know where I stand. Cool beans, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Probably dodged a bullet.
No, I definitely did. Trust me. But yeah, no. So I completely understand what you're talking about. So, where did your love for the themed entertainment area start, man?
Well,
because I know that everybody has that Genesis idea that just popped in their head, and it just was like, oh, I love this stuff. What?
Well, it's from the very beginning. It was, I grew up in Orange County, lived really like down the freeway from Disneyland. I had an amazing uncle who had some kind of hookups. He had like a silver pass, but he didn't necessarily work for the company. I think he worked for the city of Anaheim, but he had a silver pass, and I'm not even kidding. This guy probably signed me into Disneyland monthly ever since I was like,
monthly. Oh my God,
5 or 6. So I would go with my family. Like my mom would take me, my cousins would go. We'd always go as a group, and I really feel like I was raised there. And over time you meet a lot of other folks that feel like they were really raised at Disneyland, and that's basically why I love the place, and I feel like I know every nook and cranny, and I always knew I would end up there. So,
yeah.
And those friends that I met, we would joke that we were raised in the shadow of the Matterhorn. Like, how many times you drive past it, like, oh yeah, there's the Matterhorn. It's like your neighborhood. And even to this day, I have 3 kids, 4 and under. When we say we're going to the park, we're going to Disneyland. It's not like we're going to go on the slide. It's that close. So always had it in my life, always grown up with it. And even more so with the parade department, which is pretty cool too. Like, we would always make sure we watched the parade. And I was actually just going to post a photo of the first time I saw the electrical parade. My mom actually took a photo of me sitting on my dad's shoulders watching it. My jaw's just on the ground. Like, those things you don't really forget. And how can you not
at all
love it when like you kind of were raised on it and you have those memories tied to it? But my uncle, who I was talking about, who got me in, he would actually sit us down. I was probably 5 years old and my cousin was 4 years old. He would sit us on Main Street right before the parade, and he would go across the street from us and videotape the parade, but he would zoom in on us watching it. So it was, and
you had a good uncle. You had a good awesome uncle, man. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, so like I need to dig those videos up too, because that's something pretty special. And he just recently passed away too, so it'd be kind of really nice to dive into all that. It's one of those cool guys that had those humongous, heavy ass cameras on their shoulder and just chugging around and interviewing everybody. It's like, I'm glad he did that, because now we have all this really cool archival footage that we never thought of. But fast forwarding to high school, still growing up around here, and got that summer job at Disneyland in 1995. I remember I was trying to work at Disneyland in 94 when I was a junior in high school, but I was too young to work at Disneyland. But guess what? Knott's Berry Farm would hire me. So I must have been 15. I
don't know why I find that so funny. That sounds so right.
It does.
It just sounds so right.
No. So this is summer 94, and being like a total theme park, nerd and obsessed with it. I would even ditch high school. My buddy and I, we would ditch class. We would go to Disneyland, and we would just hacky sack, like different areas. Like, we would hacky sack on that flat area in front of Space Mountain, or we would hacky sack on like the Fort Wilderness on Tom Sawyer's Island, like different random places, until we just got kicked out by security.
When I was in junior college, I would leave school. I went to OCC for a short period of time. Too. You know how close that is to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So I would go down to Disneyland and literally just do my homework and stuff on the Mark Twain. Just sit there,
so awesome,
and just have it go around in loops and just do my homework.
Oh man,
because I could.
Flashbacks now of like trying to work at Disneyland while I was going to OCC. I remember I was doing, because I was at OCC from 95 to 99, but still working full time at Disneyland. And when I talk about the parades I've worked, I specifically remember the late night rehearsals for Light Magic. And I would be literally working from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. rehearsals for Light Magic, and then going straight to OCC, like straight to Harbor, and just failing everything, because I'm like, I just need to sleep. So yeah, I'm having kind of like flashbacks of that.
Yeah, all your talk of like living in the shadow of the Matterhorn definitely threw me back to the memories of just like going there and not necessarily going on rides. It's not about that. It's just about being there and soaking in the ambiance of what Disneyland is, that warmth, that familiar feeling.
Yep. We'll say what it really is. It's going to Disneyland with your high school buddies and picking up chicks and riding the People Mover. Let's be real. Rest in peace.
Exactly.
Oh man. But yeah, so Disneyland I was too young for, but Knott's was able to pick me up, and I love Knott's Berry Farm too. Kind of grew up there too. And I was a sweeper at Knott's Berry Farm for 3 months. and it seems like 3 years. I have stories from Knott's Berry Farm and Park Services Department. It is just we cleaned up some nasty stuff. But
What's the nastiest thing you cleaned up?
do you really want to know?
How bad we talking?
Well, it could be used prophylactics off of the log ride, or it could be.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I went
Oh
there.
my God, are you joking me?
No, I'm not joking.
That's the first time we've had that said on this podcast.
I had to think of a proper way to say it. I don't think I've ever
Well, I'm
called it
glad
that.
you did.
Yeah. And then here's a funny story about being a sweeper at. Okay, it was still Roaring 20s, I think, or it might have been Boardwalk. I don't know. But I'm walking back behind the Boomerang, and like behind Boomerang and Grease Lightning, and I'm sweeping away, and I saw this trail of poop, and I'm like, this isn't good. I have a bad feeling about this, and I kind of just kind of follow it. I'm
No
following this
story.
trail.
No story starts great with I saw a trail of poop. No
Exactly.
story
So I'm like,
goes anywhere good.
if I had any sense, I would have just turned around. But I kept going. I'm like, I'm walking and walking and walking, and I'm following it, and it kind of turns and makes a right, and it goes to this park bench, and there's this poor old lady sitting on the bench, and she had an accident. And I'm just like, oh, this is so sad. But so you're a sweeper. You got time to get the Absorb and clean it up and help this poor lady out. But yeah, there's stories when you work in the theme park world and you're doing the dirtiest job there, and so I felt like I put my time in. I wasn't all doing
Yeah, I
the
would
design
say
stuff
so.
at the beginning. You know, like, there's some nasty stuff.
I would definitely say so.
And I'll tell you the even more fun stories off of this because it got crazy. Anyway,
that's the late night episode of the Theme Park Duo
that's the stuff I
podcast.
could tell. Wow. But then I had some friends from high school that were actually, I guess, a little bit older than me, and they got gigs in the parade department. And so Knott's Berry Farm was summer '94, and then I quit, went out like a blaze of glory, and then they said no rehire status, but I was still I was able to be hired on as a monster for Knott's Scary Farm that fall. Yeah, I was in Nightmares, so I was in the bumper car maze. That must be
Nice.
Yes, I was one of those rock monsters, and I have stories about that too, man. Oh my god.
Oh, we definitely have to do a haunt episode with you then.
Oh my god.
Like stories from the monsters of Scary Farm or something.
Yeah.
'Cause that would be entertaining.
There's some
as hell.
doozies. I mean, I was starting to get punched, and I started punching back. I'm like, I'm going to really get in trouble if I stay at this job. So I quit before it got too crazy. Yeah, and then
Some dude's out there. He's like, dude, bro,
That's
this
him.
rock monster hit me in the face when I was like 17, bro. I don't even know what happened.
I'm gonna go back and get him. Yeah. So then I had friends from high school that were a little bit older than me that auditioned for the parade, and talking to them, they said, "Hey, we're doing float driver auditions. Why don't you come out and do that?" And so March '95, still being in high school, I went and auditioned, and I got to be a float driver, and I was hired for electrical parade,
Wow.
March '95, and then when summer started picking up, then I started doing Lion King Celebration too. So my first year at Disneyland was the 40th anniversary, and it was Lion King Parade and Electrical Parade, and it was the coolest summer ever. Like, you dream about kind of doing this stuff.
I mean,
your
you
whole
get to
life.
drive a float. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just remember, I still remember this when I was driving in Electrical Parade. So I ended up driving all the floats. And then I really obviously loved the Whirlybugs the best. I started doing Orange Snail a lot. And I remember my first time driving a Whirlybug in Electrical Parade, my face hurt when I got out because I was freaking smiling like a dummy the whole time. I'm like, this is the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. My face hurts from enjoying this so much. So I just knew, you finally feel like, okay, this was a good gig for me. And I stayed in parades for 10 years. It was amazing. Had the best time. So every parade at Disneyland and California Adventure from 95 till 2006, I was a part of. And in a way, worked my way
That's
up.
awesome.
Oh, yeah. Worked my way up from being just a float driver to a lead. Everything from Electrical Parade. We did, so 1995, we did Electrical Parade, and there was really no one on the route. It was still about Fantasmic because that was still kind of new. And then they announced that, hey, 96 is going to be Electrical Parade's last year. All of a sudden, there's 80,000 people in the park, and they're all on the parade route. it was insane. Like, driving all the floats. The last year, for the most part, I think I was probably a 4-day, but I was friends with Goofy for the last summer of Electrical Parade. There's a few people that drove drum and train. And then I remember going around the hub, and you could literally see people watching the parade route going all the way, sitting on the ground, all the way past the people mover tracks. They're all watching Electrical Parade. And it was bizarre because the year before that, no one, there's town square would be empty, and Electrical Parade just kind of going around, and no one's really watching it. So it was kind of cool to see like EP with no crowd, EP with all the crowd, and then just the hype of, well, what's next? Light Magic. And so I was a part of that, and that could be a whole show right there. But so Light Magic, and then Hercules Parade. With Hercules, that was kind of like the redheaded stepchild in a way, like Light Magic was the big new shiny toy, but we have Hercules too. And it just turns out that Hercules was amazing. And
you've posted photos of that, I believe. I'm pretty sure you have, and I've seen them, and they were awesome.
From Hercules Parade?
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. It was just great. And then it just kind of, we knew that with Light Magic that, okay, this is different. It's not a parade, it's a street show. And we knew that they were making some weird changes, especially towards the very ends of rehearsals. Like, there were some decisions that were coming down that were like, why are they doing this? Like, it was better before. Why are they changing it? And then they had to change all this really complicated choreography. And then we knew that we were having a preview in front of the annual pass holders, which they charged. They probably shouldn't have. And they shouldn't have really kind of said it's like a premiere. It was really a rehearsal, and they just changed all the choreography, and maybe 3 of the 4 floats, the lights didn't work yet. The lights weren't programmed yet.
Oh my God.
They should have canceled it.
You joking?
No, like, it was really just not ready for anything. And it sealed its fate. And that was the beginning of the internet and the Disney the Disney fans, right? So
the Disney fans we don't want to acknowledge.
Right. Yeah, we're not even going to say it. But yeah, so the City Hall line is huge, and it was just dead on arrival. And it never really survived. And I think that last few weeks of Light Magic, going up to Labor Day weekend, it finally was cohesive and everything worked. And I have a video of that is just like, if you were listening to the crowd, like, they're eating it up. You would think it was Fantasmic. It's like people screaming for it. It just needed a little bit more time to sizzle. It was just, let's do a whole show on Light Magic.
It just wasn't ready. It just wasn't ready.
But what's funny about that is, like, who cares about Tinkerbell and all of her friends? Well, 10 years later, it was all about Tinkerbell and all of her friends. So it was really ahead of its time if you think about it. But there's logistics of, if you happen to sit in the wrong spot, then, like, well, you're not going to see anything. And then, lot going on with that. And so, it went on hiatus, and they said Light Magic would look different next year. And it did. It was called the Mulan Parade. So I worked Mulan Parade, and then, which I love.
By the way, that's like Rocket Rods. It's like, oh no, it's just down for maintenance. It'll come back.
Right.
Nah. Oh, it's Buzz Lightyear now.
Those poor tracks sitting empty for 20 years. It hurts.
It's a corpse. It's just a corpse in the middle of Tomorrowland. Let's face it, Tomorrowland itself is a corpse.
Yeah. That's
another topic.
Oh yeah. Going on by parades with obviously Christmas every holiday season, and then Parade of Stars, which I couldn't stand, but I worked that too, and that kind of ran on for too long. And then we opened up California Adventure, so we opened up Eureka Parade, which was awesome. Had a blast with Eureka. That's
a very pretty parade. That's a really pretty parade.
It was designed by Raul Rodriguez, who does a lot of the Rose Parade floats. So if you're having a park about California, it kind of made sense to have the designer kind of feel like it, give it the Pasadena Rose Parade type of look. Then
isn't that the same parade where the stilt walkers were the beams for the Golden Gate Bridge?
The Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay, that part may not have been so beautiful, but a lot of other parts of it were really beautiful.
Oh, so fun. when they're walking down the street and they just really shake the heck out of it and they yell earthquake, you're like, what?
Yeah.
I had such a good time working that parade. I think I was blind to anything that might be a little like head scratching on that, but and they had like the stilt walker of a Chinese takeout box chasing a girl dressed up as a fortune cookie. Like there was bizarre stuff in that parade, but I loved it. And then what's interesting about with Eureka is it's the parade that didn't have any characters, and I liked it because of that. Like it was different. It not necessarily an Epcot kind of parade, but it had that kind of more elevated feel to it. Like it didn't need characters.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it, we were mounting our 3rd season of Eureka, and they said, you know what? Screw it. Let's add characters to this. And it was perfectly embedded with characters where they had, Mushu in the Asian unit. They had 3 Caballeros in the Fiesta unit. They were really it was awesome. And then about maybe half a month before it was supposed to open, they canceled it and said, guess what? We're doing X Games instead. So they canceled the Eureka Parade when we were finally going to get characters with it. And then they did X Games that summer. So I got to work that instead of a parade. So that was pretty sweet too. I just got to drive a Duffy boat all over Paradise Bay, taking talent from where, like all these skateboarders to these big half pipes. It was a blast of a summer. Every summer at Disneyland working. It was awesome.
You also got to do a lot of that too. You got to do a lot of driving of famous people too. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, I just posted that one photo of being a diehard Angels fan. You grow up right here. Angels win the World Series in 2002, and actually there was an electrical parade going on at California Adventure when the Angels won the World Series, and I remember getting ready for electrical parade and getting ready to step off, and we can't step off the parade right now. It's like the 8th inning. Like are we gonna win this thing? And so I remember the parade was going down the route, and I was just kind of wondering what's happening. And I remember we got by the jumping jellyfish, and I was able to look out my float window, and I saw fireworks going off from Angel Stadium. That's how I knew Angels won the World Series. But anyway, the next
that's a memory. That's a memory.
And then so then we had the World Series parade, which we're float drivers, and we got to pick who we wanted to drive. And being an Angels fan, I wanted to drive Scott Spezio. He was like the winner of the whole, the hero of the whole thing. And something happened where I couldn't drive Scott Spezio, and every driver got pushed back one car, and I was pissed. I'm like, I want to drive Scott. It sucks. And they're like, sorry, dude, you have to drive Troy Glaus instead, who was the World Series MVP. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'll just drive Troy Glaus. So yeah, that's the photo I just posted on that. Too much fun, man. But yeah, and then Block Party Bash was my last parade. And what's great about that is I got to kind of be in charge of the drivers for that. I was what you call the Parade 2. There's a Parade 1. Parade 1 is in charge of the whole parade, especially when it's en route, and all the performers. But Parade 2 is in charge of the floats and the drivers and all the floats and performers when they're backstage. So I got to open up Block Party Bash in 2005 for the 50th. And that was just the best time ever because the 50th felt monumental.
It felt bigger than the 60th. Felt way bigger than the 60th. Like massive.
Oh, for sure. Well, as it should, really. I mean, 50's ginormous. But working the 50th, I got to know a lot of the art directors and the producers and the show directors, and kind of got to be noticed because when you mount a parade like that, it's just a lot of hours, a lot of chit chatting, and people asking me like, "Hey, you're pretty talented. Why aren't you doing more design? Why aren't you doing this?" And I'm like, I've been trying to get in for the past 10 years to the art department. I just can't get their attention. So what I did though is I painted a mural in the N19 building where the parade folks all got ready for the parade behind Toontown, and took about 2 years. And it was a timeline of every parade the park has ever had. And through that, I got noticed, and then combined with me with the show directors, which at the time was Marilyn Magnus. And she has an amazing history with the company that goes all the way back to the Hoop-Dee-Doo review at Walt Disney World. Like Marilyn Magnus is like Disneyland and Disney World entertainment. Amazing woman. And I got to be tight with her, and I was chit-chatting, and I told her that, hey, I designed a parade for fun. I want to show you. And she's like, you did? All right, well, come up to TDA tomorrow, and I'm going to set something up, and I'm going to let you pitch it. So I'm like, oh my God, is this real life? So I literally had a whole parade that I designed. I mean, you're in the parade department for 10 years. You kind of know, you think you know what people would like or what you would like, and you're a creative person. So I designed a new electrical parade for California Adventure that was themed about every Disney movie that revolves around the ocean that would have a unit. And I was calling it Disney's Light Odyssey. And I got a chance, and she actually had a show director with her, and I was able to pitch it to both of them. Robin Trowbridge, who actually helped out on all the entertainment at Star Wars.
Goodness gracious.
He's still there. He's an amazing guy. So I had like half an hour to pitch my idea, and so they sat back, they let me do it, and this is amazing. I'll never forget this. Marilyn stands up, she walks up to my drawings, and she's looking at it, and she's like, "This is amazing. This is great. This could run for the next 20 years, and it'll fill the parade route. Everyone will want to see this. However, it'll never happen."
Oh, geez, that's a crushing blow.
Yeah, but it was good, and I think about this even. Everything I do, I think about this line she said. She's like, okay, well, the company will kind of decide ahead of time what are our main things that we need to focus on moving forward. Like, it's not just like, hey, let's have everyone pitch everything. They're like, okay. And she wrote these things on the wall. She wrote Star Wars. She wrote fairies. She wrote Cars. And she wrote High School Musical. And she says, if it's not one of these four things, don't even think about proposing anything based off it. It has to be one of these four things. If it's one of these four things, they want to hear about it. If not, they might actually be angry if you spent time proposing to do something that's random. Like, they don't want to hear about a Sword in the Stone parade, right? They're like, no, you need to do something like this. And then so she tells me, and it didn't feel bad. It wasn't like a negative thing. It was like, oh, that makes sense. It's a decision.
It's a learning lesson too.
Strategic decision. Yeah, for sure. It's a strategic decision of this is what we want to promote. It's a company, right? And she's like, so speaking of High School Musical, have you ever seen it? And I said, no, I have not seen it. And she's like, well, I think you need to borrow a copy of it. It's on DVD. Borrow a copy. If you could watch it, can you sketch me your idea of what it would look like to have a one float unit of a High School Musical cavalcade? And maybe have it use that Woody station wagon from California Adventure, and maybe using something like that. So I did. I'm like, yeah, you got it for sure. So my friend had it. I borrowed it, stayed up all night, and I drew what I thought that float should look like. And what she says is, she said she took that float, that drawing, to like her pitch meeting to say, hey, let's do a High School Musical thing, and the show got greenlit. And then what's great is that was because of my drawing. And that helped me get noticed. And then it just so happened a few months later, they had an opening, and I was a candidate for it, and I got to be, an art specialist.
Oh, dude!
In entertainment, and that's how it happened. So there was a long build up to like parade department, and then block party bash. You're meeting people, you're trying to get noticed, you have an opportunity, and bam! So it's no real easy answer on how to get in there. You just have to. I always say it's the fine line between being persistent and annoying. Like, everyone's going to be busy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's busy. You just got to find the right time to hit them up, not be annoying, and to be able to like prove yourself too. Because sometimes I always felt that like, hey, I know you're not hiring now, but who makes the decisions to hire someone, say in a design field? Whose desk does my portfolio have to be sitting on?
Yeah.
Find out that info for whatever job you want.
Yeah.
Because chances are when you want a job, well, they might not be looking for that person then. But as long as they know about it, you kind of plant those seeds and have a killer portfolio that's really polished and ready to go. As long as that could be sitting on the right desk, then the odds might be more in your favor.
I mean, it's a great lesson for everyone listening who's interested in going into this type of field. And in all honesty, any type of creative field. Like you said, writing the line between being persistent and annoying. It's you want to be the squeaky wheel to get the oil, but you don't want to be the squeaky wheel to the point where they're like, "Hey, we need to replace that thing. Let's get rid of it."
Yeah.
But I mean,
Exactly.
it's a difficult line to walk, but also knowing that I have said this plenty of times on the show before that, you know, people trying to figure out how to get their foot in the door, there isn't one road ever. There's never just
No.
one path that you can go down. It's
No,
not.
and, you know,
It's not, oh, go take this class, and then all of a sudden you're going to meet this person, and then you're going to get a job that you really, really want. No, it's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears,
Right.
and a lot of hard work and elbow grease to get to that point. And sometimes that point won't come for a very long time. Sometimes you're really lucky, you meet that person, and you get noticed really early on. But I guarantee you, if you get really noticed really early on, you're not going to appreciate it as much as if you worked really hard for it. And it sounds like you worked really
sure.
hard for it.
Well, it was basically just patience and you know, a lot of disappointment because, you know, you want something so bad, and how do you do it? So you kind of think, okay, how can I be noticed? And how do you be confident but not fully yourself? Because no one wants that either. You have to be, you know, you have to be proud of what you can do, and just the confidence is key. And even if you don't have that confidence and you can't really sell yourself, fake it till you make it. You know, you have to be able to, like, just to be able to, whoever you're going to work design for, have that confidence. Because if you're timid about what you can do, why should they have confidence in you? Because if you don't have confidence in yourself, and, you know, as long as you can do the job too, and that's the thing too, is I had this conversation, you know, even like to this day, like I got to visit a friend up at Imagineering a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I was in the WDI cafe right when they decided to close Disneyland, and that was interesting to see everyone's reaction. to
That's
that while being in
weird.
Glendale.
That's weird.
Well, yeah, it was a very concerning time to go, but I was there, and we were still chatting about how hard it is to kind of like get that dream job. And like, you think it's just who you know, but it's not just that for sure. And we had a conversation about, is it luck? No, it's not luck. You have to work your ass off for this. You literally have to be the best at what you do for that. And I was actually talking about my portfolio too, because this Imagineer that I was talking to, he was telling me, he's like, wow, you're kind of like a jack of all trades. And that's a good thing, right? You know, but I told him that it's a little bit of a concern of mine to be good at a lot of things. Like, is it better to be good at a lot of things, or is it better to be great at a few things?
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to spread myself out too thin. But my challenge is, if I'm going for a really cool gig that I want, or if I really want to do this project, I kind of cast a big net in my portfolio. And what I learned just even a couple weeks ago is, like, don't really kind of like spread yourself out too thin in your design portfolio, because they might not see the best work. You know, they're kind of seeing too much, and they're going to think, oh, you're more of a jack of all trades than like a content expert at this. So the best thing to do is to find out, if you're going to put a portfolio together for a project or a gig that you want to work on, find out exactly the type of work that they need and the kind that you'll be doing, and just focus on that. Because you might lose their attention if you're showing all this other stuff that they don't really need. And that's way easier said than done.
Yeah.
And you really got to know people in that respect to find out, like, well, what should I really focus on? But if you know the gig and you look at the requirements, or even like the posting, like, really look at what they're asking for. Just focus on that stuff for your portfolio, and you might have a better shot. I mean, we're still learning. We're all still kind of, I mean, I'm 42. I feel like I'm in the industry theme park industry since I was 15, right? Sweeping up garbage at Knott's Berry Farm.
Sweeping up
garbage
poop.
if I'm lucky. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And then, but working those parades for like a decade, and then being an art specialist, which is like it's Disney lingo for an art director or a designer, but technically in the system, it's an art specialist. And those kind of gigs when I was up in TDA were, you know, it's anything that's temporary. It wasn't Imagineering, but it was creative entertainment that is like, whether it's the Pirates movie premiere, or whether it's a character meet and greet, or it's a photo backdrop, or a lot of special events. There's events almost every night, either at the hotels or on the park. Say someone rents the park out, well, you got to make the photo backdrops for them.
I mean that's it's like for a theme park nerd, it's like any time I get
It's
the
best.
minuscule chance to be a part of this history at any point in time
Yeah.
is just a dream come true.
Well, for example, you're gonna trip out of this. Not just like meeting celebrities and stuff, because there's a ton of celebrity parties that we do too. There was one time with well, okay, so first of all, I was asked to do and I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan, and they knew that. And then they said, "Hey, you're gonna need to take it easy with this one, but you're gonna do Stevie Wonder's one of his son's birthday parties that they allowed him to waste."
Oh my God.
So
how do you not immediately
yes.
poop your pants?
So it's like, oh, it was insane. Like a lifetime milestone to meet him. And you're at the event, you're setting up. And I remember I made buddies with, Stevie Wonder has like a handler. He has like an assistant that kind of walks him everywhere he needs to go, and kind of like an escort, and say, "Here, sit here," or "Here's your stuff. Here's your food." Well, I made nice with this guy, and he had to like take off, and he's like, "Hey, this is Stevie Wonder's cupcake. Can you walk him to the couch and sit him down?" Sure. So I did that, and I walked him down, and he tells me this. He's like, "All right, back me up. Is there a couch there?" I'm like, "Yeah." He just plopped down. So I got to sit and chat with him for like 10 minutes, and like things like you would like, is this real life? Weird things like that.
Yeah.
But what's really touching is just recently with Kobe Bryant. I worked with Vanessa, his wife, on one of their daughter's birthday parties. It was this amazing Alice in Wonderland party that was at the Grand Californian.
Yeah.
And when I heard about the accident, and then they said that one of his daughters was on the plane, I'm like, "Oh, please don't be Gigi," because I did her 4th birthday at the Grand Californian.
That's rough.
Then it was, and I'm just like, "Oh, that hurts." So then you go back and look at photos from that event.
It just makes it personal.
It's just,
you're a parent.
yeah,
I'm a
like,
parent. It's just hard to put yourself in that position.
Yeah, that was a trip right there. But I think you'll really trip out at is like talking about being a part of like the history of the park, and like just this stuff's amazing. Someone wanted to do a Haunted Mansion holiday themed birthday party, or actually I think it was a wedding. It was something at the Disneyland Hotel.
I need to be friends with them now.
And
who is that? Who are they? I want to be friends with them.
I know, right? They had a Haunted Mansion holiday themed wedding, I believe. And since it was the summertime, they weren't using all the assets.
What? No.
So and being an art specialist, you have to know what assets we have. And that's like, what I was talking to Vanessa Bryant about. We were talking about what Alice in Wonderland props do we have. So I'm saying, do you want a teacup? We have all these cutouts of these Alice cards. We can do all this, and you just kind of draw it out for them. You have to be able to sketch on the fly and brainstorm.
Yeah.
And then so for the Haunted Mansion holiday one, they gave us the green light, and I was able to borrow all the assets, even the Jack animatronic that sits over, not the animatronic, but he has like a snowflake that spins around. It's the Jack that, I know, it's the Jack that spins on top of the entrance to the Haunted Mansion, right?
That's so cool.
All the reindeers,
those people are so lucky.
All the reindeer skeletons. I know. I have photos of that. I posted it a while back, but maybe I'll post it again. So all the reindeers that are hanging in the graveyard, we got those in the ballroom, and I rented all these tombstones, and I wrapped them with ribbon. It just, the place was amazing. Just to be a part of all that stuff was pretty epic. Yeah, so those are the kind of gigs you do as an art specialist.
So when you're trying to design things on the fly, like for these really big personalities, like you said, like Vanessa Bryant, Kobe Bryant, and other people, how nerve-wracking is it to be, hey, why don't we do this? And like, okay, well, can you show us? And you're there sketching in front of them, trying to show them.
Dude, I eat it up. Are you kidding me? I love it.
Oh, you
see, that's the thing. That's where like I don't think I was nervous. I think I was like, because I knew that Vanessa Bryant was as big of a Disney nerd as I was. You know what I mean? Like,
they were very big Disney nerds.
Just and it wasn't like, I've never met Kim Kardashian, but it wasn't like someone that's like too cool for Disneyland. You know what I mean? It's like, no, these people are in love with it like we are, or else they wouldn't be having their special event there, their special party.
It's a good point.
So that was, that's they would probably be at the Ritz-Carlton or something if they were too cool for Disneyland, but no, they're there because they love it too. And so that you kind of get on the same level with them, and you're able just to sketch something. I think that's one of the things for like my career that has helped me.
Yeah.
Because I am an artist and I'm a designer. Like, you know, the term is so weird, jack of all trades, but I do a lot of different kind of things. And in that way, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm able to sketch on the fly in a meeting. Like I could be in I get called into a meeting with a tech director, a show director, a production manager, and me. And they're saying, okay, we just got assigned this gig. What is that? What does that mean? And I'll either bring my like a drawing board, or I'll just get up on the dry erase and I'm literally just sketching while they're talking. And then that helps the show director and the tech director help guide it to what it really is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's a skill that really comes in handy when needing to really connect pieces.
I think so. Because for especially like the process of figuring out, okay, is this actually logistically, does this make sense? Because then the tech might go, hey, I did this gig in the past that we did something similar to that. Well, what if you design something that looks like this? So technically it could actually be accurate and it could work, you know? And so that's why the teams that you work with at Disneyland are so important. Like they're so great. I had so much fun working with each team. And that the hardest thing was, so this is when I left Disney. This sucks. It doesn't suck, but it was really hard to leave Disneyland. So it was, I was an art specialist for 7.5 years, doing like the coolest events, having a blast. Like I was one of 2 art directors opening up the rededication of DCA. So I was doing the Cars Land grand opening, and the Buena Vista opening, like these awesome gigs. And around that time, that same summer, an opening was posted for Imagineering. And what's great about it is it was Anaheim, like not Glendale. It was in Anaheim based. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like I don't mind going to Glendale for a dream job, but this one was for Anaheim, and I'm like, I gotta go for this. And I got really far. And I remember I was having like it's probably like my 4th panel interview, and like Kim Irvine's in there, Tony Baxter.
Oh goodness gracious!
This Imagineer, yeah. And I'm like, that's when I would kind of get more nervous, because more so than talking to a celebrity about designing their birthday party, like I'm like, holy crap, these people are the real deal. These are people that we've admired since we were kids. When you know your whole life you want to do this, that's when it gets nerve-wracking. Well, it was between me and another guy, and I didn't get it. Like, yeah, I didn't want to say I was crushed, but I was bummed. I'll say.
Do you know what project it was for?
I know the guy. Well, it was for like a senior graphic designer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it was. What's interesting about it is the guy that got it, Michael Dabowski, amazing guy. And I was actually really, because I worked with him in creative entertainment. Anyway, I knew him really well. I think we were buds, and I was happy for him. And then when they opened up the Tropical Hideaway, I saw a thing on like the Disney blog, and they're interviewing the Imagineers that worked on it, and that was his gig.
Nice.
Like, oh, that's so cool. I would have loved that. I would have loved to work on that. And he did the new Club 33 logo, and there's like some fun stuff. And I remember when I bumped into him at Disneyland one day, and he's like, "Hey, have you seen Tropical Hideaway?" I'm like, "It's amazing. I love it." He's like, "They let me do an attraction poster, and it's in the tunnel right now." And I'm like, that's the stuff dreams
holy
for a designer.
Shit.
Yeah. So if you see the right, it's still up there. There's an attraction poster in the tunnel for Tropical Hideaway, and he did the poster too. I'm like, see, this is amazing. So that's when you kind of think like, oh, that's what energizes us. That kind of stuff is so cool. And luckily, I really believe I'm the kind of guy who's happy for him. Like, you know, but I'm like, man, that would be fun to work on. But it just kind of, it fuels me to kind of keep, you know, getting those cool gigs and doing that fun stuff. And so when I didn't get the Imagineering gig, my other friend who worked at Parades at the time left to go to be like a financial director at USC. And he told me that there's a director of design position open up at USC. Might as well interview for it. Like, you didn't get the Imagineering gig, you might as well get this or try for this. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And then 3 interviews later, I got offered this amazing job at USC where I was the director of design. And I was there for about 7.5 years. And long story short, my last day at USC is actually on Tuesday next week. So this is, yeah, you're talking to me at a perfect time. So I was at USC where my role kind of like was director of design, and then it kind of, and I thought of it as like a small design team with an Imagineering type of approach to anything creative that was needed at the university.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to work with communications and marketing and their social media. So I was trying to like figure out how I wanted to do that. And I really realized about halfway through my time at USC that, you know, I really miss the pixie dust.
Yeah.
And if anyone's really looking to have a career in design, I think it's really important that they ask themselves what I asked myself. I knew I was really good at what I did. Like I was confident, hopefully not cocky, but I knew I was good at what I did. But am I good at the Disney stuff because I'm a huge Disney nerd, or am I good at design because I'm a good designer? And that was like, I really had to get serious and ask myself that question, because that's a doozy.
That is a big question.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't know the answer.
That's like, what's it called? Bad Boys moment where they both stand up and they take off their sunglasses. Like, shit just got real. Yeah, like that's serious.
No,
that's
for
like
real.
really digging deep.
Oh, it was. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't get that dream job that I wanted. But here's this amazing role that was, you know, like, do I want to get married? Do I want to buy a house? Do I want to have kids? Well, it might be hard to do that in my current role. Maybe I should step up and try to do this other thing. So I stepped it up and I put in 3 weeks notice. And it was so hard because I'm a big Halloween guy, as you know.
Yeah.
And I was the art director for Mickey's Halloween Treat. And my last day at Disney was the night before Halloween Treat opened. So that, you know, we talked about how important those teams are. That team wasn't too happy with me that I left then, but I think over time they kind of forgave me, I guess. But they're like, oh, how could you leave us? Like, we're just opening. So whenever I see like the Halloween events at the park, I'm like, oh, those were fun gigs. Like, I really like doing that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But so I had my time at USC, and you know, I'm not necessarily I didn't go to USC. I wasn't a fanboy about
Oh, good.
the university.
Good. That's why you're on the show.
Yeah.
That's why you're on the show. You know, I'm a UCLA guy, so you know, family, born and bred, and you got a tattoo.
I like
on
a
my
lot of
arm.
Bruins too. No worries. Do you have a Bruins tattoo?
Yeah, I do.
Oh my
Me and
god!
my-
How do you even allow me on this show?
me and my dad have matching UCLA tattoos.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Well, what's funny about my time at SC was when I first got there, they set me up with a lot of meetings with like everyone and their mom, and I'm like, how am I supposed to remember all these people? Well, they set me up with some folks from athletics, and I had a lunch with them scheduled, and I kind of just happened to mention, I'm like, yeah, I think it's really weird that you guys don't have a mascot. You know, every other Pac-12 school has a mascot. Every school across the country has a mascot, but USC doesn't have one. And they're like, yeah, we do. We have the horse. He does like a lap every time they score a touchdown. I'm like, yeah. Fine. What about anything else but football? What about baseball, basketball, you know, water polo, lacrosse, anything? Like football is holding school spirit hostage. I just don't get that.
Imagine that horse at a water polo event.
Oh,
I don't feel like that would go well.
Yeah, seems like some like 1920s seaside pier car, like horse jumping in the pool. But and they asked me, they're like, well, what do you suggest? I'm like, I suggest mascots. And they're like, well, what does that cost? I'm like, what? Are you serious? So I had to do homework. I called up people at Disney, and I found it. I'm like, okay, who makes costumes? Who makes character costumes? Who does this? So I got the same vendor. They happen to be in Glendale, of course, who makes the costumes for Disneyland. That I designed a mascot for Tommy and Traveler, thinking that they're going to cut one of them. So just design one of them, designed both of them. And I got some costs for them and a proposal, and I put it together, and they greenlit it. So USC finally has mascots of Tommy and Traveler. And people were kind of like joking, like, when am I going to turn USC into Disneyland? I'm like, done. There's our costume characters walking around. And it's funny too, because they were hated at first, like hated. Twitter was, if you think Diz Twitter's bad, the USC Twitter people were just destroying these mascots. So they had Tommy and Traveler at every basketball game that season. This is probably like 5 years ago. And even though like the USC folks were like pissed off and like not really into it, the away team was like forming these huge lines to get their picture with the mascots. And then like slowly over time, they started getting invited to like commencement and like every fancy event. And then like people are starting to have them for weddings. Like they're kind of starting to treat them like Sparty at Fort Michigan State, where they have like these mascots. And it's funny, like once like that the students kind of evolved out of it and the new students came in, they didn't know the mascots were a new thing. They were like, oh, I guess this was here the whole time. So I mean, that I did have a little bit of pixie dust at USC, but I was still looking for that theme park kind of entertainment, those projects that really kind of like fuel my fire, like creatively.
Yeah.
And where I was starting to build my own side business where I was trying to like moonlight by, you know, maybe doing something for the Queen Mary during Christmas time or like, because I knew a lot of designers who were doing stuff and they knew me from Disney. So they started, once they knew I was kind of freelancing, they were having me do some fun stuff. And then it just turned into this thing where I have 2 full-time jobs where I'm creative director at USC during the day. And then at nighttime, I'm staying up till midnight trying to design events. And it just got crazier and crazier. And we finally came to the point where I was able to kind of say goodbye to USC. And then starting, you know, next month, I am full-time Carter Creative. I am full-time doing my own thing. And that's kind of scary because the climate right now, like no one would have predicted that it's the apocalypse, end of the world going on. But I firmly believe that couple months will go by, like the industry will be different, and I think they're still going to need, I hope, some creative to kind of help design that. So like, what is that? So I'm pretty excited when the business picks up. I'm sure it'll be slow for a little bit, but that's going to give me some time to kind of really build Carter Creative up and get the word out that I'm, you know, open for business, you know, so to speak, and then just get as many gigs as I can.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now.
I mean, in all honesty, I visited the Queen Mary Christmas, and I remember I think
you did. Have you talked about this?
Yeah, I think you and I talked, you know, over chat about it, and the fact that I was going. I was like, hey, I'm going. I know you worked on this. I'll tell you what I think afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I told you.
Yeah.
This place is gorgeous. Like it oozes the Christmas feeling. Like that's what I felt.
That's the goal. Well, you know, I love the Queen Mary. It's another place I grew up at. And then I did 2 Christmases there. The first Christmas 2 years ago, it was just on the ship. And so my whole vibe was I treated it like an attraction poster where I did the marketing for it and the event. And where I kind of made like, okay, if this was in the tunnel of Main Street, what would the attraction poster for this event be? And based off of that, everything was kind of like pulled from it. So it was like 1940s Christmas vibe. Just had a blast with that. But what's great is they asked me back this past Christmas to do something, but we expanded into the parking lot and we did kind of like a big ice rink and a carousel and a train and that kind of thing around it. But I also grew up with Santa's Village. Like I am a big theme park nerd, and I'm like, I wanted to recreate the vibe that I had of Santa's Village, but do it with the ship. And you know, like Disney always says, it always starts with a story. Well, the story from 2 years ago was we're taking the Queen Mary to the North Pole. That's the whole vibe. So like if a little 5-year-old kid,
that's cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's really neat because it's looking at it from that perspective, which I don't think they ever really did before, where I would talk to them and like, hey, they're not guests, they're passengers. Like try to use that kind of terminology and even like the set pieces, everything I learned at Disney, I really apply it everywhere. Like for example, if you're getting on the Queen Mary, you're going to see there's a sleigh with a bunch of luggage and there's like a Santa suit coming out of the luggage. Like, hey, Santa's here, right? Like he just parked, that's his sleigh. And then you have his captain quarters on the ship. And then, yeah, it was just way too much fun. And I think we decorated about 40 Christmas trees.
Goodness gracious. It's using imagery to tell the story. Instead of sitting down somebody and telling them a story, you're telling them through visual representation all over the place and setting the tone. And I think you successfully did that. And I remember seeing that poster.
Thank you.
Like, he did that. That's awesome. This is a great poster. I love it. And
I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you did fantastic work on that. I really do. And that's
Thanks,
not me
man.
just kissing you back because you're on the show. I truly mean it.
Well, you know, it's kind of thing where you have to love what you do, and if you don't love what you do, it's going to show. And even like with my time at USC, there's some projects I'm like, I do not love working on this. Like I'll even be a little bitch about it. Where I'm crystal clear. I'm like, yeah, don't like that. But you have to, like, if you're going to be a creative leader, you really can't say that kind of stuff, right? So I kind of like vent, I get it all out, but it's like that integrity that you have to have where like you want to be, especially if you're leading a team. Like that's another thing too. You could be a designer. You could also be a creative leader where you're still designing, but you have to be enthusiastic about what you're doing, or else why would your team have any enthusiasm? Right?
Exactly.
Like, and that's the kind of thing too, where it's really good to talk to, like, say your team, and you want to be like real with them. You're not going to be fake and go, oh no, this is amazing, when you really don't think that, because people aren't stupid. They're going to see right through it.
Yeah.
So if you could like kind of tell them like, hey, I get it. This isn't like the best gig ever, or this isn't the best project ever. Let's dig really deep and find out how to love it. And if you really search hard enough, you might find it, right?
Yeah.
So that was like a lot of the practice, and it's almost like working out at a gym, but you're working out on projects that you're not really into. But you have to force yourself to be into it, because honestly, as a creative, I can't really make something look good that I'm not totally in love with. Like, so I now what's nice is I kind of choose the projects I want to work on, and it's stuff that I love. For example, you know, I still do some stuff with USC, and I'm doing these renderings of the LA Coliseum. I love it. Like I really kind of, you know, jack of all trades, but then like if you had to really narrow it down, concept art. Like, I don't know if you know who Greg Pro is.
Don't.
But Greg Pro or Brian Jowers, I guarantee you know Brian Jowers' work. He's the guy that did that amazing concept art of Indiana Jones that had like 5 rides going through it.
Oh, dude, I have that in my bathroom.
Exactly.
I have that in my bathroom.
Yeah, so that's Brian Jowers' work. And way back in the 90s, I just posted this on Twitter too. Back in the 90s, I was friends with Matt McKim, who was actually Sam McKim's son, like one of Walt's 9 Old Men.
Oh, geez.
So I was talking to him and telling him like, hey, this is what I want to do. And he was nice enough to bring me to Glendale and let me have like an hour with Brian Jowers. And Brian Jowers taught me things that, I'm not even kidding, I'm doing this rendering right now that's on my Cintiq, that I am using a strategic design that I learned from him in just an hour. Like I learned more from him in an hour than I did at all school. Like OCC, Cal State Fullerton, no offense, but like it's that on the job kind of like just something little that just clicks.
Yeah.
So little things about composition and like making sure that your eye leads you to where it wants to go. And there's a lot of stuff. And even with my Wonderground art, because in my free time, I've done some gallery work for Wonderground at Downtown Disney.
I'm kicking myself I didn't buy a piece, because literally
they still have
I was in Wonderground and I had it in my hand, and Nikki's like, oh, our thing rang for Tortilla Joe's, we gotta go right now. And Erin's like screaming around. She's like, ah, she's like freaking out. I was like, no, I gotta buy this. And then we didn't buy it, and now it's shut down.
And the end of the world.
The end of the world.
That's so
has
sad.
happened. But it's sitting
gosh.
there
It'll open
and
up,
it's waiting
hopefully.
for me.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I did I did 4 pieces in 2013, and I had 2 more just this past fall. I did a Phantasmic piece and a Country Bridge Jamboree piece.
The Phantasmic piece is the one that I was drooling over, that I was like, that was the one in my hand. It was in my hand, man.
Oh, man. You want to something funny, though? If you notice the shape, this is a little secret, artist secret. If you notice the shape of that piece, it is the same proportions as those humongous banners in the rafters of Wonderground. I was trying to like subconsciously think like, hey, this piece is the same shape. Let's blow up one of these. Didn't work. Maybe next time. But I would have loved to walk by and go, oh, there's my art piece blown up to be like 30 feet tall. But nah, didn't happen. You know, it's okay.
It might happen. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, hopefully I get to do some more stuff with that. I'm all queued up to do some popcorn bucket designing for the merchandise folks at Disneyland. So those are the type of like projects that I'm trying to just load up, because if I'm starting my own thing, whether it's in a big event like the Queen Merry Christmas, where I have a whole team of people that help me out.
Yeah.
Or if it's just more gallery art, or if it's just, you know, logistic type of planning. Like I did I don't know if you heard about it, but last year they started the Tournament of Roses Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah,
so they called it the Sip and Savor. So I was brought on. I worked with Tim O'Day on some stuff. That was with AEG, who actually designs a lot of the Rose Parade floats. So that's how, I swear, everyone from Disney, that's rule number one. Don't be an asshole, because people will remember you. Be nice, be cool. And I swear, like, that's how I got the Queen Mary connections, is my time at Disney, because people leave Disney, they start their own thing, and they think, oh, Sam was really cool to work with. Let's grab him for this. And I am ready to go. So if I could keep building that up, I think I'll be good to go. It might be tough. It might be slow to kind of build up your own business like that. But I'm just energized and stoked and ready to go. And as you can tell, I like talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very clear that there's a passion behind, art and design. And like you said, it's hard to do these jobs when you don't have a passion for it. And it's very clear that you have a passion for it. So I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to succeed in
Maybe
that.
Too much.
Because no, it's never too much, man. Us theme park dorks, it's never too much love for that.
I love it.
And it's clear, like, you got a lot out of, even from working on the floats all the way to here. You've gotten so much in that span of time, and I don't think you have too much enthusiasm for that. So I'm actually really looking forward to the work that you're going to be doing in the future under Carter Creative, I guess is the way that you called it.
That's right.
Yes. So I'm very much looking forward to the art and the work that you're going to be doing moving forward, and hopefully you can let me know what you're working on so then I could go see it immediately.
Oh, of course, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for asking me to kind of talk about this. I think hopefully it helps someone out in some way.
No, of course. I think a lot of people who are into the themed entertainment world, like myself, have always dabbled in the idea of like, maybe I should try. And the people who have taken that step, I think any source of information, whether it be do's and don'ts or specific traits to incorporate into your art like you had, any little bit helps. And if somebody got the gonads to say, I'm doing it from this episode, then I think we've done our job.
I hope so. So, and if you do, let me know and maybe hire me. But well, isn't that, like, I think I got to know you pretty much through Diz Twitter and just bumping into you at Knott's, I think, is the first time we chatted, right?
Yeah, but, pretty much just the love of theme park stuff, themed entertainment.
I can, the thing that I just love the most is being able to take my kids. They're so young right now, but they're starting to really appreciate it. Like, they go to Knott's and Disneyland and Universal all the time. And it's just so cool because to them, it's still real. My son thought we were going to the North Pole, like, it's hard not to get emotional about that kind of stuff. But I always kind of think, like, what if I was to do this? Like, it kind of helps fuel the fire too, to know that you have little ones, that you're kind of doing it for them, but you're doing it for everyone.
Yeah.
And just to see kids enjoying, or even adults enjoying what you kind of create, I can only imagine what it's like at a higher level. It's like Tony Baxter designed Disneyland Paris. What is that like to see everyone going to see your thing, right? But speaking of, like, Twitter, it just, if you could have conversations about the industry with the fans on Twitter, about other designers on Twitter, and even like legends on Twitter, like Joe Rohde will reply to you if you're talking about something. Like, what world do we live in where, like,
direct access?
Like Tom Morris is amazing on Twitter. Dave Cobb, amazing. These amazing designers are so just at your fingertips if you wanted to ask them a question.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think everyone's been super cool. Like, I hit them up all the time just to, like, hey, I want to pick your brain, man. Like, how did you get to where you are? And then it's just, it's nice too, because it's a little bit of reassurance, because they might look at my artwork and go, dude, you've been around. This is pretty cool. Or they might say, how come you're not an Imagineer? I'm like, funny story. So it's like stuff like that. But being able to have that dialogue with people, especially in an industry, like, I don't think we could have ever done that without Twitter, which is pretty hard to believe.
As toxic as it can be, there are a lot of benefits to the way social media has gotten now, and being able to, like you said, at your,
like,
no, it doesn't help. But being able to have the people that you admire at your fingertips, like you said, and being able to, and if you pose it
Right.
in an intellectual, respectful way, they will answer your questions. And I think that is so unbelievably cool.
And that's why I feel really lucky in the position that I'm in and being able to work with some amazing folks. I mentioned Tim O'Day earlier, and he knows my history. He knows what I'm into and stuff. And he happened to be good friends with Tony as well. And a couple, like maybe last year, he's like, hey, Tony and I are going to go grab lunch. Do you want to join us? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, let's go.
What kind of
So
a
I'm
question is that? Do you want money?
no,
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I didn't have to pay for it. It was just awesome, right? They're just so cool. And being able to have those, like, to be able to nerd out with someone like that,
Yeah.
unreal. I'm sure you saw it. I put out like a drawing of what I wanted them to do with Fantasyland a while back, and to be able to kind of like run it past Tony Baxter, it's just crazy, right?
It's
and of course he
nuts.
says it'll never happen. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's fun, right? This is kind of crazy too. Is like then Tim said, hey, he's like, hey, tell him your idea about Splash Mountain, because that's his baby too, right?
Oh yeah,
And
it
I'm
is.
And I'm like, I don't know if he wants to hear my idea about Splash Mountain, because it was right around the time of Guardians of the Galaxy taking over Tower of Terror, and it was just everyone was pissed off about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but hey, guess what? It worked out good. I like Guardians more than I like Tower of Terror. Like, who would
Same
have
here.
guessed that,
I am
right?
in the same boat
Like-
with you, my friend.
Yeah, like I don't like it behind Carthay Circle Theater. I like
No.
Tower of Terror behind that better. But hopefully when Avengers Campus opens, because that's obviously getting delayed now, right?
Yeah.
With so since they pulled off Guardians of the Galaxy so well with Tower, I had an idea which I want to share with you. So Splash
I'm
Mountain.
gonna critique you hard. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna give you my full honest
right.
opinion here. Let's see. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'm excited.
You
now.
might poop your pants. Okay, so Splash Mountain, it's totally on the back of Haunted Mansion. Like it's literally right there, right? And I never really liked that it was like Haunted Mansion. Hey, there's Splash Mountain. It's right there. What I want to do is turn Critter Country into the New Orleans Square back bayou, right? So it's an extension of New Orleans Square now. It's the bayou area. You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
We're going to take the movie that you can't even release anywhere, like Song of the South. You can't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Because of racial sensitivity. You can't even have Song of the South anything. So we're going to take Song of the South out of Splash Mountain, and we're going to base Splash Mountain after Princess and the Frog.
Ah, I like that.
So think about it. Hold on, think about it. So you have racial sensitivity doesn't allow you to even talk about Song of the South. So guess what? We're going to base it on the first Black Disney princess. Boom.
No, I actually think that's actually quite smart. That's really smart. And also, it would work. It would work.
Oh my gosh. If you look at the scenes and like if you listen to the music going down the bayou, first of all, going down the bayou, there's a drop. So there's marketing for it. And you have like the different songs. You have Killer Dr. Facilier animatronic in like that one part of the Splash Mountain that kind of turns into a roller coaster. So you do Friends on the other side in there. And then at the end with the whole, that big steamboat in the finale room. Well, that's the finale number from Princess and the Frog. So it made way too much sense. But man, when I'm talking to Tony Baxter and looking at him in the eyes, I wish you could have seen his face just like stare daggers at me like, that's awful. Like he didn't like it at all. And especially because I was so excited talking about it. He was like, no, I don't like that idea. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
But man, what an incredible episode. Thank you so much for coming on the show
My
and
pleasure.
chatting with me about your history at Disney, from all the way from parades to the creative design aspect, and creating all the incredible experiences that a lot of people came to Disneyland for. And
Thanks.
even though we talked about USC, I'll probably end up cutting that out.
That's fine.
Oh, sorry, gotta cut it for time. My bad.
You're cutting out. You're cutting out some static.
Oh, sorry, I was super staticky during that. What did you say? Let's move on. But no, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. I know
My
that you and I
pleasure.
have talked nerdy goodness plenty of times.
Oh yeah.
At Knott's Berry Farm and over Twitter.
Well, there's more where
and
that
things
came
like
from, for sure.
Dude, we'll have to do more episodes in the future and hopefully get Nikki on. Nikki's dealing with Aaron and putting Aaron to bed and stuff, so that's why it's just me right now. But let everybody know where they could follow you on social media, and then if somebody is listening who's like, oh, I want to hire that guy, let them know where they can
Yeah, for
contact
sure.
you.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty active on Twitter for the most part. It's Cartar Sauce, not Carter Sauce, but Cartar Sauce. It's actually, long story short, it's from an episode of The Simpsons when Mr. Burns took away the nuclear power plant's tartar sauce.
Yeah.
And he says, "Let them have their tartar sauce." Well, when I was on the Disneyland softball team, we're on I think we're on pitches and throws. One of my buddies on the team just kind of yelled out, "Let them have their tartar sauce." I'm like, oh my god, tartar sauce? Totally based off The Simpsons. And it just stuck. Like, I started using it as like a screen name, and it just kind of like, and it's 20 years later, I'm still using Cartar Sauce. So anyway,
Nice.
Twitter, Cartar Sauce. That's probably the best way. Hit me with that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, and we will definitely have you back on the show.
Thanks so much, Gabe.
It's always so interesting to hear the internal perspective of people who work on the parades, because those parades at Disney bring so much joy to so many people. And I guarantee you the floats that he drove, or the celebrities that he drove in the cars for certain parades, or even the parades that he worked as like kind of like the managerial staff and making sure that like everyone's cool, he's helped facilitate those memories by working on those things.
Oh yeah.
You know, and hearing the further side of his design expertise, you know, working at USC, and how he created Tommy Trojan and Traveler in almost like a Disney mascot form is so cool to hear, even though, you know, obviously my dislike and disdain for USC, University of Second Choice, all those things.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to hear him doing that for the school.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
We really want to thank Sam for joining us on the show to talk about his career. So thank you very, very much. It was also very cool to hear all the details.
Yeah, for sure. It was really fun.
And it stunk that you didn't get to join in on
I
that.
know. We have a tiny human that we have to take care of. So
Yeah, we mentioned
you know.
her from time to time.
Yeah, so when
know?
when you know, the schedules don't quite line up, Gabe is the better talker. So
That's
I
not
take care of
true.
Aaron while Gabe does the interviews.
I think that I don't necessarily think I'm the better talker. I think I am...
You're the better conversationalist.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that. I think you're better at talking and you're funnier.
Yeah. No, and I feel like people think like, oh, Nikki just doesn't like doing the interviews. It's not the case, because the episodes where we're alone and we're recording, it's usually some obscene time where we just happen to finally have time, like 11 at night. But you know, when we have other people on the show, a lot of times if they can't, you know, record at a time where it's like convenient for Aaron, like miraculously taking a nap at a predetermined time that we would like, you know, then it's gonna be before 9, so it's gonna be Gabe, you know.
Exactly.
Which, yeah, so it's fine.
But anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I know that the last episode I teased a completely different topic. Unfortunately, our friend Eric, who was the one that actually was going to be on the show, ended up getting very, very sick.
Not COVID.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, hopefully not.
It isn't COVID. But he was very sick, and he's like, I don't want to be coughing up a storm on the episode and have you edit all that stuff out, so we'll just
Yeah.
come back to this. Which is fine. I mean, it gives him more time to marinate in his thoughts about Disneyland.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
But we still have a good long list of really fun episodes coming up that we have planned in store for you guys. So, if you want to hear that, if this is your first time listening, if you want to hear all these fun episodes, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on social media. Make sure you click all the buttons you need to click in order to see when our episodes go up. So, if you do want to follow us on social media, make sure you head on over to either Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter and just search Theme Park Duo. And if you want to email us, you can always email us at
themeparkduo@gmail.com.
And then also, if you haven't already, make sure you leave a 5-star written review on iTunes. It is a completely free way of supporting the show and helps everybody find us easier and enjoy us like you are right now.
Yeah.
So I know that we've gotten a couple reviews, but they weren't actually written reviews.
Yeah.
At least nothing's popped up yet.
Okay.
Nothing's popped up yet. The one could pop up. For some reason, there's a big delay in between like the written reviews and like it saying I got a review.
Oh, yeah.
Which is weird. I don't get it, but it's a thing.
Yeah. Maybe they have to go through some screening process or something.
Do they really like this podcast?
Or, is this just Gabe creating fake accounts and giving himself 5-star written reviews all the time?
No, that's not the case at all.
Do we have reviews from Babe and Jabe and Mabe
and Cabe?
And Cabe?
Nikki, shush. Anyway, and then one last thing before we go. Last episode we talked about how we're having a new friend / character joining our ranks and doing some, trip reports and reviews and things like that. Mr. Heckles, the miner who was working in the Calico gold mine in the Glory Hole, he came out of his mine to partake into the themed entertainment world, and he actually is going to be having his very first write-up on our website at themeparkduo.com.
Yay.
And it's going to be all about Chimlong Ocean Kingdom, which is actually a foreign park.
Oh, awesome.
So it should be a really cool write-up to hear from a Westerner's point of view, let alone a miner's point of view.
Yeah.
So make sure you keep your eyes peeled on themeparkduo.com for a very cool write-up from him. But that brings us to the end of the episode, and we hope you thoroughly enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for the next. And as always, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.